Hello, NBA fans. This is Wilson. So, just about 20 minutes or so ago, the OKC Thunder got finished uh, closing out Game 7 of the NBA Finals to secure the first championship since the Sonics became the Thunder uh, when the Sonics moved from Seattle to OKC and became the Thunder, and that was for the 2008-2009 season. So it's the first time since the Thunder have been in OKC. Uh, Seattle had won one in 1979, so technically, I don't know. I mean, it's the second or the first championship, depending on how you look at it. The final score was 103-91, and of course, it was a result that was. I mean, I'll just say it was cheapened somewhat by what happened in the first quarter. Of course, Tyrese Haliburton, by all appearances, tearing his Achilles tendon in that same leg that he already had that calf strain. We saw the classic telltale sign of a torn Achilles, which is the when the calf muscle when it recoils. You see that motion that it does. It was right there for everybody to see as he went to drive in the first quarter of that game there after playing 7 minutes and scoring 9 points. He was off to a hot start, and then just like that, it's all over for him. And it's going to be a long recovery process for him. He had made 3 for 5 from the field, 3 or 4 from three, and then just like that, it's all over. And his team, they fought valiantly, but they just didn't have enough. Man, they stayed in it to the end. They kept fighting. Even after falling behind by 20 or 21 points in the fourth quarter, they kept fighting, but they just didn't have enough. And you know, all praise is due to the Thunder. They did what they had to do. So all credit to them. But at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't matter. Injuries are part of the game. But for sure, Pacers fans are always going to look back and think, man, if we had had a healthy Tyrese, or if Tyrese had been able to finish the game, give it go the whole night, they might have been lifting the first championship in the history of their franchise. And instead, they'll have to go back to the drawing board. And Tyrese, as I said, man, he's going to be out. He's not going to play next season with that injury. And it just sucks, man. I don't know what they're going to do about these Achilles injuries. It's becoming an epidemic. 3 stars who coincidentally, strangely, all wear the number 0, suffered torn Achilles in these playoffs. Dame Lillard in the first round, Jason Tatum in the conference semifinals, and then Tyrese Haliburton tonight. Man, those calf strains are nothing to play with. I remember when Luka first got here to the Lakers, he was recovering. He was still recovering from a calf strain, and I was kind of worried. I think it's when he first got here. That's what he was coming back from, because it's just so dangerous, man. If you're not 100% healthy, it'll go on you. And so it just really sucks. And I mean, it sucks on a number of levels, obviously, because Holly's going to be on the shelf for a while now. That's one thing. The other thing is that, like I said, another Achilles tear, taking out a star player. The fact that we could have had. I mean, it was as it was. It was a it was a game 7 that I don't. I mean, it wasn't. It was a memorable game 7, and it was dramatic and kind of infamous, but in the end, anticlimactic. As much as Indiana was able to keep it a game and make a game out of it to the end. You just wonder, man, if Holly had been out there. And that's the thing. I don't know if it was Richard or who was saying it, Doris, or Breen during the broadcast. But the element of the comeback, which is Indiana's specialty, and they tried it, man. They tried it. They were down, like I said, they were down by 20 or what was the biggest deficit was 21. Yeah, they were down 89-68, and they came back and they were able to get it down to within. So the closest they got it to was it 10 points? Yeah, it was 10 points. They got it to 94-84. But that was and it was 96-86 week. They were able to get it down to 10, but that was as close as they could get because they just didn't have enough, and you just had to have so much respect for them. And it really would have been something, man, if they had been able to pull it out without Tyrese. That would have been the only thing that uh, you know kind of salvage what was just a devastating night for Pacers fans. But yeah, it is what it is, man. Injuries. This is not the first time this has happened. Injuries are, like I said, they're part of the game. Uh, shoot, Byron and Magic in '88 and '89. Year before that, Isaiah with his ankle. Kyrie in 2015. You know, it happens, man. It happens all the time. Not all the time, but Durant in 2019. you know, it is what it is. Even Kendrick Perkins in 2010. Even though I'm a Lakers fan, I already said Isaiah in '88. Such a close game. I know Perkins wasn't a star like some of the other guys I named, but in a game that was that close, if he had been out there, he maybe could have made the difference. I'm glad well, I'm glad he was hurt. I'm glad the Lakers won, regardless. But it is what it is. At the end of the day, nobody. There's no asterisks. There's no anything like that. It is what it is. The Thunder were a healthier team at the end, and they were able to lift the trophy. Second for the great Alex Caruso, and the Thunder, they cap off a great season. They went 68-14, set all these had all these records with efficiency and defense and stuff like that. But it wasn't easy for them in the playoffs. Swept Memphis, that wasn't saying much. Had to go 7 with Denver. Had a pretty easy time when Minnesota beat them in 5, but then they had help. Pacers gave them hell. So it happens like that sometimes, man. You have a great season, and you'll struggle, to get across the finish line. But at the end of the day, all that matters is that the record books are not going to say, well, they went 68-14. It's like having an asterisk that says they went 68-14, but then they lost, 8 playoff games. And also Haliburton tore his Achilles in Game 7, or else they might have lost. It's not going to say. It's going to say Oklahoma City Thunder 2025 NBA champions. So congratulations to the Thunder. Shai Gilgeous is he's the Finals MVP. Average, I think it was 36-6 for the series. He did not play well tonight. He shot 8 for 27 in 40 minutes, 2 out of 12 from 3. Now he did have 12 assists and only 1 turnover. Went for 29 points, but that was not a good shooting night. He was 11-12 from the free throw line. Jalen Williams had 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Chet Holmgren was huge. 18 points, 8 rebounds, a steal, and he had 5 blocks. Also, Lou Dort proved me wrong. I said that the Thunder weren't going to win the championship because they de-Dorted themselves, but he's a champion now. I mentioned Caruso. He has a second. He had 10 points, 3 steals, 3 rebounds tonight. So he's a 2-time champion now. For the Pacers, TJ McConnell, man, he stepped up, 16 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He also had 7 turnovers though, but he was, he had to, he tried to will him man. How Matherin ended up with 24 points and 13 rebounds off the bench in 33 minutes. Shot 10 of 10 from the free throw line. Siakam has 16 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. Nembhard had 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists. Miles Turner was once again pretty much a non. He had 6 points and 4 rebounds. So if you look at him in this series, and that was probably his second most. After game six, he had 3 points, 4 rebounds. Tonight, 6 points and 4 rebounds. So not a good end of the series for Miles Turner. And yeah, man, it is what it is. Thunder are the champions, and good for them. Sam Presti finally, after all these years. Of course, he had the Durant and Westbrook teams. It's Ibaka and Harden. And after they traded Harden, those teams. Those were some really good teams. Made the finals in 2012, conference finals, and also what was that? They made it in 20. Shoot, what else did the Thunder make the conference final? Obviously, 2016. That's when they blew the 3-1. That's when they blew the 3-1 lead. There's some other years that they made it too. At least one other year they made the conference final. 2013 or 2014, one of those years. I think it was 20. I don't remember what year it was, but yeah, they finally get there. So good for them. The thing about these game sevens, right, in the finals, and I'm going to mention that this was a great series. It didn't really feel like the finals, but also Shai Gilgeous, the first, I think it was Silver said it was him in the finals of the P Trophy. First guy since 2000 to win the regular season MVP, the scoring title, and the finals MVP in the same season. Of course, that was Shaq in 2000 who did it last. Michael Jordan did it. Just going off the top of my head, he did it 3 times and only won. Jordan's MVPs were 88. No, Jordan must have done it. Jordan did it 4 times. 91, 92, 96, and 98. He was the MVP of the regular season and the finals, and he won the scoring title. But what I was going to say is that if you look at these the game sevens that have taken place in the NBA Finals, going back to 1957, right? There have been, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There have been 15 game sevens in the finals going back to 1957. 1957 was Bill Russell's first championship with the Celtics, right? If you look at all those years, right? So I said 15, I think, right? If you look at all of those years, the only time that a team lost in Game 7 in the finals and hadn't previously won or did not get back to that level again was in 1994 when the Knicks lost to the Rockets, right? And when I say never got back to that level again, I mean that they didn't win a championship after that, right? That with that particular group, that group of players, right? Every other year that a team lost, or every other team that lost in a game 7, I guess the only one that wouldn't count other than that, because I'm counting the Lakers with Jerry West in that category, because they had because West, they lost all those years with West. Gail Goodrich was on some of those teams, and finally they ended up winning with Wilt And Elton Baylor was retired. He retired early in that season in '72. But I kind of count them. I guess if you don't want to, you don't have to. But I always kind of considered the West teams, all those teams that West was on, as sort of like one team. And then finally they got Will Chamberlain, and a few years later they're able to win one. But most of the time, so like in 2016, the Warriors lost. They had already won one, and they won three more after that. Two more with in the next 2 years. 2013, the Spurs lost, but the Spurs won the next year. 2010, the Celtics lost, but the Celtics had already won with that group in 2008. In 2005, the Pistons lost, but they had won the previous year already. I already talked about 94. In 88, the Pistons lost, but in 89, they came back and won it, and they won again in 90. In 84, the Lakers lost. They came back and won again in 85, and they'd already won in 80 and 82. Of course, they won more in 87 and 88. In 78, the Bullets beat the Sonics, but the Sonics, as I said, they won in 89. I'm sorry, 79. In 74, the Celtics beat the Bucks. The Bucks had already won in 71 with Kareem. In 1970, the Lakers lost to the Knicks. The Lakers won in 72. Lakers also lost in 69 to the Celtics. So, and then in the 66, 62, and 60, I know a couple of those were the 57 and 60. I think those were the St. Louis Hawks, maybe 62 also. It could have been the Lakers. But that was the Hawks won in 58. I think that was with Bob Pettit. So for the Pacers, right, this has been a remarkable run that nobody expected them to make. They're not on the level as these other teams that I just mentioned that had, all these all-time historic, players. They're probably the closest to like the 2005 Pistons, like the Pistons had already won. And now Haliburton, though, he has this torn Achilles. Who knows what he's going to be like when he comes back? You had to look at it before the injury and go, well, going in the next year, it's going to be Cleveland, New York, and Indiana in a three-team race with Indiana being the favorite because they just beat those two teams. But now it's no Haliburton. Now you got to bump Indiana out, and you got to bring in. I would like to. I think that I like the trade that Orlando made to bring in Bane. I think he's just what they needed. So now I think he bumped them up a level. So it's Knicks and it's Cavs. Nobody believes in the Cavs. Knicks, well, they would be like an easy team to label the favorite, but they don't even have a coach right now. So I mean, the Pacers were looking like a team that could come back and take the East again, and instead now Haliburton will miss the whole season, and who knows what is. I mean, when he comes back, his stuff is not. His stuff is fleeting, man. When you have it, you gotta maximize it and get the most out of it while you still can. Because it's not. It's something like OKC. Let's say they had lost tonight. I mean, everybody talks about how OKC has stood up to this now, but people said the same thing about the freaking the Magic with Penny and Shaq. We saw what happened with there. People said the same thing about OKC when they had Durant and Westbrook. We see what happened there. So it's no guarantee, man. It's no guarantee you're gonna get back. And it's just, man, the night could not have gone worse. It's not funny, but the night couldn't have gone any worse for the Pacers. You got to be proud of their team, but that's one of those things, man, where you're proud of them, but that's really something that you say just to try to comfort yourself when really you're devastated as a sports fan, because man, they might not have another shot this good to win it, you know. So it's tough, man. They were a very inspiring team, as Breen said. You gotta have respect. Hats off to Rick Carlisle and that whole crew, man, because they just have so much fight and they play so hard, and it just sucks, man. Sports just really just sucks sometimes, man. You know, but shout out to the Thunder, man. They did it. Okay, now the other big news story today in the NBA is the Kevin Durant trade. Right, Durant was traded to the Rockets for Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the 10th pick in this year's draft, and also 4 future second round picks. I'm sorry, 5 second round picks. Now, Kevin Durant, I talked about him a little bit in the last episode at the end when I was talking about LeBron and LeBron's comments on ring culture. And I tied into Durant how, I feel like Durant's spirit is non-competitive, right? Durant plays the game. I was like when I first got to middle school, right? When I got to I went to K through 5 elementary, then I went to 6 through 8 middle school. Well, it was actually K through 8 middle school, but I didn't get there to the 6th grade. And so when I got there, I noticed the guys in my class, they would play basketball at recess or lunch, but then but they weren't keeping score. They were just out there playing basketball. And so I started keeping score, and I basically changed the way that they did things. When I got there, and but the way that I think Kevin Durant, if he could, he would. It's like he would play basketball, and there wouldn't be a score. There wouldn't be any stakes. It would just be a chance for him to showcase his skill set. And I think he's just the type of person who I think it's something I was saying last week. This era that these guys like LeBron ushered in, whereas before you had players. That's why the ring culture comment was ridiculous. Because what are you playing for? What is the culture if it's not trying to win championships, right? That's why you're playing. Even the guys who did not win championships in the previous era, or like when I was coming up, you think about obviously Charles Barkley, think about Karl Malone, you think about John Stockton, and players like that. You think about Allen Iverson from my era specifically. It wasn't because they didn't care or because they took this attitude like, well, that's not really what it's about. It's about just going out and playing my game and showcasing my skill set and being a good person or all this other stuff. They were trying to. That was why they played the game, was to try to win a championship. And so when LeBron sits up there and talks about ring culture and how it's overrated and he hates it and stuff like that, and I feel like Durant has said stuff over the years like he's, I think, I don't want to lie or misquote him, but something to the effect of he went to Golden State because basically he wanted to just play without the pressure of having to be a leader or something to that effect. I just think that's the mindset of someone who's running from competition, and now at 37 years old, you have to look at it and you have to go, well, at his age, right? See, now the Rockets, they gave up a lot to get him, I feel like, but they had stockpiled so many assets that they could afford to part with what they parted with because they still have, Cam Whitmore can play. Tari Eason will get more time now. They just took Reed Shepard with the third pick last year, although he might be more of the replacement for Van Fleet when Van Fleet gets old. But uh, so they had enough assets to part with what they parted with. But if I were them, see, to me, what they gave up, you're talking about Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks. So Jalen Green, a young player who could, I don't think he hasn't been an All-Star yet, but he could be. Um, Dylan Brooks, the who's like the type of role player that you need if want to be a serious playoff team. And he showed in Memphis. And Memphis is not the same without him. How long has Dylan Brooks been there? Did Dylan Brooks is this his first year? Yeah, no, this is his second year in Houston, right? But he's a tough guy. I know people hate him, but he's a tough guy. And then they gave the number 10 pick, and they gave 5 second-round picks, right? Now, to me, that's the type of package that you give up to get Devin Booker, right? Devin Booker, who's younger and I think a more viable piece at this point in his career than Kevin Durant. But I think Kevin Durant, kind of like LeBron, is one of those guys who Curry's in that same category where they're so great, they've been so great that even though they're old now, people still sort of look at them like they did when they were in their prime. But this is not prime Kevin Durant. This is the Kevin Durant who, at the point of his career, I always say this, like Kobe, after Kobe won his last championship in 2010, where he can still put up numbers. He's still a great player. But as far as winning championships go, there are now players who are younger, more viable players, basically. If that's your goal to win a championship, I mean, it's a young man's game, as I said last week, and so, yeah, I just don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how much this really makes the Rockets are already scary because they're so young and so athletic, right? And obviously Şengün is a hell of a player, and Amin Thompson is the sky's the limit with him. But now you bring in this old guy Durant, and just because he's old, that doesn't mean he can lead these guys, right? Because he doesn't like leading. Now what he is he's still a walking bucket, even at 37. But I just don't know when it gets to the playoffs. Like they just went, didn't they just go 7 with Golden State? If that same series happens next year and Golden State has their guys, right? And it's Houston again against Golden State. But now instead of Houston having Jalen and Dylan Brooks, now they have Kevin Durant, a walking bucket. But who would you rather go to war with? I'd rather go to war with Dylan Brooks. If not, Jalen Green. And Jalen Green, I think, is someone who, a talented player, but a level beneath your, like I said, Devin Booker. The very top level of shooting guard. Anthony Edwards. I don't think he'll ever be that, right? But a very good player, and who could still get better. And it's gonna be interesting to see what Phoenix is gonna do now with Booker, if he could possibly be. I don't think they want to trade Booker, but does he still want to be there with this rebuild that's going on? We'll have to see, but I just don't know if Durant, like I said, at any point in his career, if Kevin Durant was the type of player who was really going to be the bus driver on the championship team, and now he's going to Houston with the two best holdovers are Şengün and Thompson, two young guys. So he's once. I mean, if he's in a position again where they're like actually relying on him and needing him to push them over the top, I just don't know if he can do that. And that has nothing to do with talent. It has something to do with age. But even in his prime, and of course he has injury history, but even in his prime, I just don't know if he has the mentality to do it. Now, I mean, I don't know of a situation where, you know, it's like you got old Kareem when Kareem was, from 87 to 89, the Lakers won in 87, 88, and then they went back in 89. And you go, well, and Kareem, by then he was a fallback option, right? But that's not what that's not what Houston is asking Durant to do. They're asking Durant to come in there and still be kind of be Kevin Durant, kind of, right? And I just don't know if if the goal is winning the championship. I don't know if that's gonna work, you know. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say to you, brother. But shoot, I guess it's not much more for me to add. You know, so might as well just go ahead and say that before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network, and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can, before I finish, I just want to add. So I had said, as OKC was down 0-1 and then down 2-1, and I said, well, remember now, no one has won a championship playing hard and ball. Remember, Kobe said, you can't win a championship playing that style of ball with one guy dominating the ball. You're going to have to switch it up. Well, OKC just did it. So there's that. All right, good for that. But yeah, as I was saying, man, before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network, and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailbag questions to CompleteLakersPodcast at gmail.com. I am out.